This was shipping for one bar is 18.94. What did you pay for the beef? I know you bought the beef.
That roast was $8 a pound.
Hey, Carnivore Hunters, it's Doug. So tomorrow my brother's going to come down and we are actually going to show you guys how to make pemmican, or actually the Carnivore Bar. When that's pemmican, that's really all Carnivore Bar is. But you can make it for a fraction of the price. I think those things are like 17 bucks a bar. We're going to show you how you get that down to about maybe $4 or $5 a bar. What we're going to be doing here is 3 ways. And I do need to start tonight because first step is getting everything very, very dehydrated. I'm going to do it on my smoker so we can get a little bit of additional smoky flavor in there. But you can use it in the dehydrator, in your oven, however you would basically make beef jerky, but you're going to make it much, much drier. So what we have here, this is going to be your basic beef. This is going to be your normal Carnivore Bar stuff, right? You want to get as lean a cut as possible. This was basically cuts from a round roast. I think this might be 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds that we have left. Actually quite a bit more marbling than I'd like to see for pemmican. If it was a regular roast that I'd be eating, it'd be great, but a little bit too much for pemmican. You want to get as much of that off as possible. So step 1 was to cut off as much of the fat as you possibly can, because that's where, when you're storing this stuff for a long time, it can go rancid. But that's also where wild game comes in handy, because wild game is already naturally very, very lean. So we're going to get 2 others here. And what I used for this is I'm going to use the ground meat. So I have ground elk, which is this darker colored here. And this is actually a ground deer, which is the lighter color. So it's a full pound of elk. That's actually probably closer to a 1/2 pound of deer for that package. I thought I grabbed a bigger one, but I didn't. So we'll just live with what we got here. That'll probably only end up making about 1 bar for us, but still we can show you how this is going to work. I did just use a jerky gun to lay these out here. Didn't try to be pretty because it's not going to stay jerky. Eventually we're just going to grind it up, but we'll show you guys that later. So again, step 1, I'm going to go ahead and throw these on my smoker. We're just going to leave it overnight. It's going to go for probably 12 or 13 hours until they're absolutely brittle. And next time you see me, my brother should be with me. All right, have a good one. Hey, Carnivore Hunters, it's Doug.
And Rick.
Hey, so you guys probably just saw me prepping our meats here for our homemade Carnivore Bar, or just pemmican, if that's what you want to call it. Couple of things that happen. So the elk and the deer, those easily got done within the first 12 hours. Our beef here was a little bit more. I cut it a little too thick, so it did take closer to 17 hours to get completely done. But the most important thing is that you get it. You really want to hear a crack when it opens, when it snaps. You want it completely dry. It's really important that we get it completely dry. That way, that's what helps you avoid any future spoilage once you actually add the tallow.
Yeah, I think you'll notice these are very small
batches.
Small batches, and we're intentionally doing that because the other thing we're going to do is we purchased the
Carnivore Bar.
And so we want to kind of do a taste comparison at the end of this. So but at the end of this video, you'll see us taste testing, and we'll let you know which one we like the best. And we'll do a cost comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think you're going to find this is going to be a much cheaper way to do it. Now, the way we are doing this with the smoking, it is going to taste different than the Carnivore Bar. I do not believe they actually smoke theirs. If you want it to taste more exactly like a Carnivore Bar, just use a dehydrator or use your oven, something like that. But our next step here is we're going to put these all separately in, and we're going to separate the beef from the elk and the deer into the blender, and we're just going to chop it up to a very fine powder there. And if you do need to buy a blender, if you have one, use whatever you have. have. But if you do need to buy a blender, I do recommend buying one with a square carafe. Those circular carafes, especially when you're trying to grind something up, you can get that little cyclone, that vortex going, and then nothing ever gets quite chopped up. The square ones kind of disrupt that cyclone process and make things kind of bounce around a little bit more. Just makes it a little easier to get it to that fine powder state. So
I just learned something new today.
So do you have a square one or you have a round one?
Round.
No. We'll have to get you a good one.
Yeah.
Nope. Anyway, guys, we are going to get these all ground up and then we'll come back and show you how that looks. See you in a second. All right, guys, we're back here. So as you can see, what we've done is we've put the meat through the blender. This was the beef that came from from the steaks that we had. As you can see, that one's a little bit more stringy, but it's still very, very dry. There's absolutely no moisture in there at all. This one is our elk, which came out more powdery, and that was by using the ground meat, and same with the deer over here.
Yeah, like you said, the ground meat ground up much better into a powder form. And something else I want to add too is there are 3 distinct flavors here. We took a pinch of each one, so it'll be interesting that when we get the final product finished up here.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next thing we're going to do is add in our salt. So what you're looking for is basically somewhere between 1% and 2% of the total weight to be salt. So we're at 6.5 ounces here. Again, we're doing a really small batch with this. This is not going to make many of these, but a lot of this is kind of experimental for us as well. So if we take this up to about 6.6, there we go. Oop. And then we'll get that stirred in. Now, this is also, if you guys were trying to copy the Carnivore Bar's recipes, like if you wanted the honey salt or what was the other one? Garlic?
The pluck seasonings.
Yeah. So they tell you right on the website what they're doing is using pluck seasoning. And we'll put an image of that up here so you can kind of see what that is if you're not familiar with it already. This is when you would add that. So really, we're just going to get these all stirred around, make sure it's nice and good. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and do these other 2 off camera. Same process though, between 1% and 2% of the weight needs to be salt. And then when you see us next, we'll be getting the tallow ready to add that in and just basically making the bars. It's a pretty easy process.
Yeah. We'll be back in a minute.
All right. Thanks, guys. Hey, guys. So we're on to our next step here. We just need to get the tallow kind of warmed up a little bit so it's no longer solid. So what I've done is I've set up a double boiler. Very easy if you guys haven't done it. Take a saucepan, put some water in the bottom, and get that to where it's about to start boiling. But then you can put the tallow in the bottom. And this is just to get it liquefied. Make sure we're getting this liquefied without actually burning it. So just going to do a little bit here at a time because we're going to slowly mix it in. Again, this is a very small batch, so we're not going to need a ton of this tallow to hold this pemmican together. But as long as you keep your double boiler going, you can make a little bit more as you decide you need it. So we're going to get this melted here, and we'll be right back in a few minutes. Show you what we do to get everything put together and make our final pemmican product. Okay, guys, so my tallow here is almost completely melted, and we do want to do this very, very slow to make sure we don't do too much. Just for the sake of filming here, I'm going to use my smallest batch, which is the deer meat there. So what I'm going to do is take some of this. Actually, there's still a little chunk in there. Get that in. And I'll just use the spoon. And I'm just going to drizzle a little bit in here to start. You can always add more. It's really hard to take it out if you put in too much. So I highly recommend just drizzling in just a little bit. And then as you need more, take more. Already get a little. Burn my fingers on the steam there while we're at it. So what you're looking for is to just get this to the point where it's going to stick together once you kind of put it in the bowl or the dish pemmican. You don't want it too loose, but you don't want to get it to the point where you have a big old puddle of grease on the top either when you're done. You know, if it looks like you have like a frosted brownie in the end, you know you use too much. You use too much tallow on that one. So that's one way to know. But by the time you see that, it's already too late, right? So I'm going to get this stirred in here. That actually, I'm kind of feeling like that last pour might have been slightly too much, but we will find out once this one's all set and dry here. So I'm just going to use this small piece of Tupperware. If I was making a full batch of just one kind, I would probably use a big 13x9 dish. But obviously, especially since this is only a little more than a half pound of deer that we're using on this one, this is all we're going to get out of here. And we're just going to pack that down. And this is going to give us a little bit of a bar. Now, if you look at the Carnivore bars, it'll tell you right on their website that they're using about a half pound of meat for every single Carnivore bar. This is about a half pound here, maybe a little bit more than that. So that's exactly what we're getting out of it. So if you're trying to match what they're doing with Carnivore Bar, then just figure every pound of meat you get, you're going to end up with two bars. So just scale that to whatever you guys want to make. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish this up for my beef and my elk meats, and we will be right back. Hey guys, we're back. So I've got the pemmican all ready. These are homemade Carnivore bars. Confession time, literally not 30 seconds after I told you guys to not be too heavy-handed when you're pouring your tallow. I over-poured the tallow on our elk pemmican here. So just so you can kind of get a look, you can see how it's almost like runny compared to these other two. This one is definitely going to have that frosted look. Once it cools down, it's definitely going to look frosted, whereas the other two should not. So it's not going to make it inedible or anything like that. It's just going to be a lot more calorie dense. So when we can work that in, especially, you know, if you're out hunting, you're going to do a long hike, need a little extra boost of energy. There's still a time and place for that. I just don't like the flavor as much when there's that much fat in it. So what we're just going to do now is really let these things cool off, and then we'll show you guys what they look like when they're all said and done. We'll see you later.
Hey, carnivore hunters. So we are all set. All of our homemade carnivore bars are done. We also have a sample of an actual carnivore bar from that company. As you saw, we just went through and basically we made the plain one. Now with the carnivore bar, you'll notice they have some that have honey in them. Some are just salted, some are even unsalted. And then they have some like zesty garlic. And with the zesty garlic, all they're using is Pluck organic seasoning. Sorry, had a kind of froze up on that one, but so so yeah, they use the Pluck organic seasoning. We'll put a picture of that up here. This is all stuff you guys can buy for yourself. As we're not doing anything special here. Is a very easy thing to do. So what we've done is I've actually bagged some of the remaining our carnivore bars, as well as our beef, our elk, and our deer, along with a carnivore bar. Rick's actually going to blind taste test these. So he's going to hold up a bag. You guys are going to see what he's got. I'm going to see what he's got. And I'm going to taste the exact same one. And we're just going to have him kind of guess which which is which, and give us feedback on the flavor. Okay. So, Rick, do you have anything to add before we get started?
Yeah, the whole point of this is not really the taste test. The taste test is just kind of for fun, but the whole point behind this is the carnivore bar, which we just showed you, uh, is basically pemmican. And so this is all about pemmican and the different uh, meats you can use with that. Uh, so should we go over color and texture real quick, Doug, before we get started, or do you want to?
Yeah, we can absolutely. Yeah, there was, so we noticed right away the carnivore bar, and I never actually noticed this with them before, but it's a very light kind of grayish color almost when you compare that to even our beef one. Our beef is much darker, and this is not a special beef that I bought, guys. This is seriously was a round roast that was on sale at Safeway. I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys can see that too clearly, but everything we made is significantly darker. So Rick's going to try to shield his own eyes. Again, nothing scientific about what we're doing here, but he's going to try to hide it from himself as much as he can when we do this taste test. The other thing is, Rick, when you bought that carnivore bar, I think you said it was almost $19 for one bar after shipping, right?
Yeah, it was $18.94 for
Right.
one bar after shipping. They charged $1.95 for shipping. So that's actually good point, Doug. That's actually the other point of this video is the cost.
Yeah,
Basically, carnivore bar is pemmican.
yeah. So you're
So
basically, per pound of actual meat you're spending roughly $38 a pound, versus ours. The roast I got was about $8 a pound, if as I recall. And so take a half pound per bar, you're spending about $4 a pound. Now, if you buy the tallow, that would be an extra cost, but you can make your tallow. You can see Rick's homemade tallow recipe in our other video. We can put a link for that up here as well. So most butchers will just give you tallow for free because they're going to throw it, or not tallow, but they'll give you the fat and you make your own tallow with it. Um, because they're going to throw away that fat anyway.
yeah.
So
As you guys can see, I'm not looking. I'm mixing these bags up, and we're just going to do, like Doug said, we're going to do a blind taste test here. I will try to hold the bag up the best I can so you all can see what I'm tasting, and we will just see if I can guess the carnivore bar from the beef, from the venison and elk. So here we go. Okay, I have no idea. Can you see this, Doug?
put it a little bit closer to you. Okay. Yep. So I know what you have. I will grab mine as well.
Okay, so here I am with the first taste test.
So what are your thoughts on this one?
It's a combination of gooey and crunchy. I'm guessing the crunchy is maybe salt or something along those lines. I'm going to say that one was the carnivore bar.
Okay. Yeah, it was actually this was pretty bland actually.
It was very
on the
bland.
on the flavor on that one.
But to
So
be fair, if you're doing a plain pemmican recipe, it's going to be
they're
bland.
going to be bland. Yeah, that's not.
So for the viewers, you can spice up your pemmican with dehydrated fruits and what else, Doug? Different kind of seasonings.
I've
We
seen
did the salt
doing like
only.
cracked pepper.
Yeah,
If you wanted a little bit spicy, you can throw some cracked pepper in there. Any of the seasonings, those pluck seasonings that go into the actual carnivore bars, like the zesty garlic. I think they have another like barbecue flavored or something as well.
yeah.
So I mean, you can get creative with it. Obviously, most carnivores are not going to want to do the fruit, but or you might want to. Like we're actually considering trying the fruit for this hunting season, just because hiking all day, a couple extra carbs from dehydrated fruit wouldn't hurt us. But we have
And even if there's dehydrated fruit in there, it'll still be a ketovore, and we've made no qualms with. We do the occasional salad, and I think in the little over a year that I've been doing this, I've eaten fruit once. So
yeah,
if I do it twice in a year, I'm good with that.
right, yeah.
All right, here we go. I don't know what I'm grabbing here. Can you see that, Doug?
Yes, I know what you have now.
Okay. Okay, ready?
Go.
I don't know why I sniffed it. I have no sense of smell. Same thing. Gooey yet crunchy. So I don't know where the crunch is coming from, but I want to call that elk.
Okay. Yeah, that one was definitely, that was more salty than the first one, which was good. And I would also say gooier than the first one as well.
Yeah, almost creamy.
Yeah, a kind of a creamy texture to it. So,
okay. We're down to the last two.
All right,
can you see what I'm holding up?
I can. Do you want to cleanse your palate before you take a bite of that one?
Yeah, good idea. Okay, here goes. So this one, same thing, gooey yet crunchy, and not quite as bland as the first one, which I called the Carnivore Bar. I'm going to say this one's beef.
Okay. And that one's definitely saltier to me than the other ones.
Can you all see that?
No. Can't really read it, but it's the last one that's left. So
okay, good point. I'm going to change my answer, Doug. I think the last one I had was deer. I think this one is beef.
Okay. Yeah, that one. This one was not as much salt on this one for sure. And
it was almost more fibrous.
Yeah. I will give you that. So are you ready to hear the results?
Yeah. How'd I do?
Actually, after your last changeover, you basically got 100%.
Wow.
Some things I will point out as being the person that finished these. I did get a little heavy-handed with the salt on the deer. In retrospect, I'm kind of glad I did. I liked it. Actually, I liked that one. I personally liked that one the best, I think, out of everything.
Did you really?
Yeah. The elk, you mentioned that one was creamy. And I don't know if you probably saw on the bar, I got a little heavy-handed on that one with the tallow. So it actually had that little, almost looked like frosting on the top. So
yeah, I saw that when I was cutting these up for this little experiment. But Doug, I don't think that's a bad thing. If somebody's looking for the extra fat, I think that's okay. And
I've seen people do it on purpose. Not my favorite, but I have seen others do it on purpose.
I kind of liked it with the texture and everything. The hard part is taking this stuff out into the field while you're hunting or something. All this was refrigerated before we started cutting this. If you have it in a backpack or something, it's going to be really gooey.
Yeah.
It's just it's going to be almost like eating a icy pop or something. You're going to have a really hard time.
Mine has been out. That's why I don't know if they saw me. I had a paper towel here next to me to kind of tap off my fingers after each bite. So yeah, it does get a little bit sticky and gooey. I will say also for the beef on that last one that you had, it was stringy. That was something I noticed with making it with because that was the only one where I used a roast. With the deer and the elk, I used ground meat, and but I used a roast specifically to get the leanest cut possible. I used a round roast on that. And for some reason, even after I put it through the blender very heavily, it still did have like a little stringy quality to it. So I think if you're looking for texture specifically that to match the texture of the carnivore bar, you're best to stick to ground meat. However, you want as little natural fat in that ground meat as possible. So that's where I think the deer and the elk come very
What,
handy. Is they're naturally very lean.
let's go back to cost analysis real quick. Like we said, was shipping for one bar is 18.94. What did you pay for the beef? I know you bought the beef.
That roast was $8 a pound. I think it was about a 3-pound roast if I remember correctly. But it was
And
$8 a pound. So you're talking about, again, if you're for every half pound to make one bar, to do an apples to apples comparison here, that's $4 per bar instead of the what 19
yeah,
basically.
and
And
and and I made the tallow and the butcher. I mean, I could walk to my butcher. It's just a couple blocks down the road, and I had 7 pounds of fat that I made that tallow with. And other than the electricity it costs to make it, it was completely free.
yeah,
They just give away beef and pig fat,
yeah.
which is
Well,
how
and your
we make the
time,
summer sausage and the time.
yeah,
I don't count the time. I'd be doing that stuff anyway.
exactly.
Um,
And honestly,
um,
same with the cost for the deer and elk for us. That's really hard for us to quantify because we're going to have the deer and elk meat anyway. So
yeah.
we can't really throw that out there. And if we have a really good year, then maybe we make some extra pemmican because we
Well,
can save it for so long
and
and
when's the
take
last time we had an unsuccessful year?
well. Last year
So,
was about as close
yeah,
to unsuccessful as we get, but we
yeah.
only got one.
We only filled one tag last year, and we all walked away. So between me, Doug, and Dad, we split the meat three ways, no matter how many tags we fill, and I mean, we always have meat in the freezer,
Yeah.
always. So, as Doug said, it's hard to quantify because we're going to pay for the gas. Actually, that's all it costs, right, Doug? the because we have everything else we need for
Yeah.
hunting. So it's the gas to get there and the gas we use while we're hunting, which I don't know,
Minimal.
a couple $100 maybe.
Yeah. Well, and there's the cost of the licenses and that sort of thing, and that's going to vary state to
Yeah,
state,
yeah.
and if you're in state or out of state, of course. But yeah. So I mean, since we're basically already outfitted with all the gear we need, um, yeah, the cost is really pretty minimal. A week and a half's vacation, also, I guess in there.
Yeah.
But
Well,
again, this is something we love, and we're going to be doing it anyway.
final analysis, Doug. Oh, did you want
No,
to?
I was going to say the same thing. Did you want to?
Yeah, final analysis between the deer. So you said I got 100%, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So between the deer, the carnivore bar, the beef, and the elk, which was your favorite?
Honestly, I'm going to go with the deer, and there was no extra. It's not actually wasn't the flavor of the deer. I think it was like I
The
think I'm
extra
going to start
salt.
putting more salt in there.
Yeah. What was your least favorite?
Honestly, the carnivore bar.
Me too.
Actually, between the carnivore bar and our own beef, and I would say the beef on this one strictly because it was stringy. That was a little bit of a weird texture for me, but that's something we can work with. We can.
Well, and if we ran a deer and elk, I would do the beef way before I'd pay $18 or
Oh yeah,
almost $19.
exact. Well, yeah, at
Um,
at $4 a serving instead of
yeah,
19, definitely.
my favorite was the elk. My least, I agree with you, Doug. My least favorite was this, and we're not here to,
Not
you know,
definitely not to bash them. I would if I was completely out of other stuff and I had to do like an international trip for work or something, I would still consider buying a carnivore bar. But that just I don't know that price tag to me seems to be a little bit steep. It's I think it's a great small business and they're filling a need a lot for people who want good nutrition and don't necessarily have the time to do what my brother and I do here. But if you have the time and or you just plain can't afford $19 a bar, then this is a great option to just do it for yourself just so that you have it. It's not a hard recipe. You can add additional flavors on your own, play with it. And that's what I would definitely suggest is do small batches, kind of like what we did here. Do small batches just with a couple of pounds each, and that way you can play with the flavors. Then once you get your amounts right, then you can, you know, go for something big and do 10 pounds at one time or something like that. But
yeah,
that would be
and
a good way to just figure out what your taste buds like.
to get the tallow, check out this video up here. We'll put it up here, but you can make your own tallow, and your butcher may or may not charge you for so many pounds of fat. Um, but even if they charge you, it's not going to be a whole heck of a lot. It's going to be a few bucks for a few pounds. It's going to be very reasonable. I'm fortunate that our butcher they just don't want the fat, so they give it away.
Right.
Yeah. So
So
it,
anyway, guys, if you have any questions about what we did to make this pemmican here or these homemade carnivore bars, put them in the comments. Let us know what you think. Have you guys tried? If you have any other recipes, we're taking some of this hunting this year. We just haven't decided what we're going to do with it. So if you have a spectacular homemade pemmican recipe where you just think the flavor's out of this world, let us know what that is, and we'll give that a shot.
yeah, I totally agree, Doug. Let us know what you guys think. I think another thing we failed to mention, Doug, is the shelf life. Um, Doug had everything vacuum sealed, and the shelf life of pemmican is a decade.
Yeah,
Literally a decade or better.
yeah.
So it's a very good survival food.
And a great way to get your fat and your protein out in small packages, especially if you're in the backwoods. So
Yeah, and your calories. This is packed with a bunch of calories. So
yeah,
yeah, it's very probably one of the most carnivore things you're ever going to eat.
absolutely. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. And thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Have a good day.